Well, good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? It's a nice Colorado day outside, nice blue skies and everything. I found a little something about speakers I wanted to share with you. I think it's funny. It says here, it's in my file. I forgot I had it. Good teachers never die, they just lose their principles. Good principles never die, they just lose their faculties. Good doctors never die, they just lose their patience. Good lawyers never die, they just lose their appeal. And good preachers never die, they just go on and on and on. Isn't that great? I'll tell that to Davis, see how he likes that one. Anyway, I hope you're doing well today. I had a thing I've been working on for quite a while, and I finally got it done at the class today. And the title of our lesson today is Are We Lucky or Are We Blessed? And I heard something just recently, back to D Day, which we heard last Sunday, was a wonderful reminder of D Day last Sunday. And so uh, there was an episode in which someone of great, I guess, high rank or whatever it may be, was addressing the soldiers or over the radio, whoever it may be. And at the very end, it caught my attention because it went right into our lesson. Because the author, whoever it was, the speaker, said to the people or to the soldiers and to all the troops that if we're lucky, we will persevere, we will do this, we'll win, et cetera, et cetera. So we ask God's blessings. So I thought, you have luck and you have blessings in the same speech, and different kind of perspective. And I think that's a great beginning of it. Well, I'm going to start off with telling you what happened last night. I had a very frustrating and very terrible dream I had last night. I had dreamed that I had died and that I was taken to heaven. And I stood before God and his throne, and God sneezed. And I didn't know what to say. I mean, how do you bless God, right? That's what we're going to talk about, is blessings today. I stopped at a light. And recently, on the corner was a homeless man who held up a typical cardboard sign that said this: need help, need a blessing. At the time, I was thinking about the lesson, and that sign really resonated. He wasn't banking on luck, but on the heartfelt care of drivers. Not possibly if he used the term luck, the message may have been slightly different what he needed. For example, he would have said, need help, need better luck. Somehow that doesn't have a guilt feeling about it. He couldn't probably get much taken from anybody giving contributions into his little bucket there, wherever it may be. So exactly what is the difference for Christians who use the term blessing so easily? Do we understand what we're really referencing in our faith and message from God when we ask for blessings and we give blessings to people? Now, humans are very superstitious, we humans, and by nature, with a lot of strange habits that seem entirely illogical in a lot of ways. We avoid walking under ladders or opening umbrellas and doors or in fear of bad luck. We knock on wood to prevent disappointment. In fact, Karen does that. She'll go, well, knock on wood, and she'll knock on wood somewhere. We shun the number 13, and we can't quite decide whether black cats are good or bad omens. And all these and many more involve avoiding bad luck or ensuring good luck. I had a great grandmother from Louisiana, right in the backwoods area, who was insistent on the superstitious rules in her house. And the black cat under the ladder, opening an umbrella in the house, and many more that I can't even remember. And my mother used to lecture me, and my grandmother would lecture me before we got to her house, that she was very insistent about these superstitious rites in her home, and we were not to mess it up as kids. But none of these actions made much practical sense. And the same is true for the range of superstitions involving food. I did a little research on some common superstitions that I think we all fall prey to. And you know some of these. For example, we throw the pinch of salt over your shoulder. Do you know where that comes from? If you accidentally spill salt, you should immediately throw a pinch over your left shoulder. I'll be over my shoulder here. The origin of this very strange belief isn't really clear. It possibly dates back to the ancient world and therefore spilling it was frowned upon because, as you know, salt was very, very for the rich only, and it had a high price to it, so you don't waste it. I did not know this, but in the Renaissance, Leonardo da Vinci, created one of his most famous works, The Last Supper, in which, if you look at the painting, Judas Iscariot is portrayed knocking over a container of salt with his elbow. In that, I didn't notice that, suggesting that the connection between spilled salt and bad luck was well established by that time. So why don't we throw spilled salt over our left shoulder? Well, we believe that the devil is there and evil spirits are hovering over our left shoulder. And when we throw salt over our left shoulder, we throw it right in their eyes and they can't see us anymore. Here's another one. I think it's fascinating. Eating black-eyed peas on New Year's Day. Now, in the American South, eating black-eyed peas on New Year's Day is a very common superstition and tradition, and I've done it all my life. And it says to bring good luck and prosper throughout the year ahead. So when the enslaved Africans brought black-eyed peas to America, the beans were initially used as food for livestock and enslaved people, and the only ones that ate it. And they gained wider acceptance as time went on during the Civil War when there was less food to be had. And so they found out that you could survive on black-eyed peas during the winter, and so became the association with good luck and prosperity by black-eyed peas. Here's one more and last one. Breaking the wishbone. Now, where did that come from? Well, when we have a cooked chicken or a turkey or whatever, it's a common Christmas, presentation. My sister and I did it all the time of who would break that wishbone. And it's a very strange thing to do, no matter how much luck we may be in for grabs. It involves making a wish while pulling the bird bone in two with another person, and the person who gets the bigger piece will have their wish granted. And where this came from, we have not figured that out yet. It just started from somewhere. So, while both words, luck and blessings, describe positive circumstances, there are differences between them, and that's where I want to get to in the heart of what we're talking about here. Now, what is lucky? Well, it implies good fortune and divine things about happening at random chance. There's no divinity in it. There's no sense of godliness in it. It's just blind chance that something good will happen. It attributes to success being in the right place at the right time with no design or purpose about it. It emits surprise and relief and a sense of great fortune, that you had great luck, but you have no control over the luck. It's very impersonal. Now, blessed now, that term implies intentional divine favor. It attributes positive outcomes to a higher power, such as God in our faith, or acknowledges deep gratitude for the meaningful people and gifts in your life. One feels at peace and a kind of a spiritual connection. So God is actively looking out for you within the blessing context. So when do people use them? Well, lucky is commonly used for things like winning a raffle or finding a good parking spot or avoiding a sudden accident. Where blessed is frequently used to describe life events like with deep meaning, like a healthy family or a long marriage or finding a fulfilled career or something along that line. So ultimately, choosing between the two often depends on a personal level and belief. People who are religious or spiritually are strongly inclined to prefer that they're blessed because it ensures all credit and gratitude go to God rather than coincidence. So what does it mean to be blessed? When you tell another that you are blessed, what do you mean by that? And when you hear someone else say, well, I'm really blessed, well, how do you understand that? I ask those questions because I think what we mean when we talk about something like this of being blessed is often not what Jesus means when he talks about our being blessed necessarily. Now, I want you to take a moment just for right now. Let's do a little experiment and exercise here. And I want you to think of one thing that points to or indicates your blessedness. Take that moment. So what did you name in your head? What's the mark or indicator of your blessedness? When I hear others talk about being blessed, they often describe things like good health or healing from sickness or well-being or wealth or some good fortune, success, going through a difficult time or family love or friendship or support from somebody else. They're certainly good things. I want them for you and myself, but that is really what it means to be blessed. Maybe it's better than that. Sometimes blessings don't come in the way we think they will or do. They come in disguise. I have found that it is true there is a silver lining in each dark cloud, and that God can take something that was meant for evil and turn it into good. That kind of implies a little bit what we talked about last Sunday. Come from Romans 8:28. Read that when you have a chance. Have you heard of a song called Blessings? It's by a girl by the name of Laura Story. And I plucked out 3 lyrics out of it, and listen carefully to this. This is her song. What if my greatest disappointments or the aching of this life is a revealing of a greater thirst this world can't satisfy? What if your blessings come through raindrops? What if your healing comes through fears and tears? What if 1,000 sleepless nights are what it takes to know you're near? What if trials of this life are your mercies in disguise? Isn't that deep? That's so rich. That's so beautiful. She says, when she was interviewed about this, she said, the song shows that we still have more questions than answers, she says. But there's a decision that if I find God is asking us to make, whether we're going to judge God based on our circumstances or whether we're going to choose to interpret our circumstances based on what we hold and be true about God. Now, there's a Sunday school lesson all by itself. I'll read that again. That's so rich. Whether we're going to judge God based on our circumstances or whether we are going to choose to interpret our circumstances based on what we hold to be true about God. I like that. Now, so we're getting to creeping into blessings she's talking about. Have you ever found a penny on the ground right in front of you as you're walking into a restaurant or somewhere sidewalk or whatever it may be and said, oh, I found a lucky penny? Well, I have. But here's a great story that talks about, and a point I want to make about this lucky penny business. And I want you to listen carefully. It's about a husband and wife who were invited to spend the weekend at the husband's employer's home. And the wife was really nervous about the weekend. Well, he lived in a beautiful home, and that's what made her nervous. The first day and evening went real well, and she was delighted to have all the rare glimpses into how the very wealthy live. The husband's employer was quite generous as a host and took them to the finest restaurants for dinner, and the wife knew that she would never have the opportunity to indulge in such a beautiful extravagance again, so she was totally enjoying herself. Well, as the 3 of them were about to enter an exclusive restaurant that evening, the boss was walking slightly ahead of her and her husband, and he stopped suddenly, looking down the pavement for a long, silent moment. The wife wondered if she was supposed to pass him and go around him, but there was nothing on the ground except a single darkened penny that someone had dropped and a few cigarette butts. Still silent, the man reached down quietly and picked up the penny. He held it up and smiled, then put it in his pocket as he found a great treasure. How absurd. What need does this man have for a single penny? Why would he even take the time to stop and pick it up? Throughout the dinner, the entire scene nagged at her. Finally, she could stand it no longer, and she casually mentioned that her daughter once had a coin collection and asked if the penny that he had found had been of some value, thinking that might be the reason. A smile came to the man's face as he reached into his pocket for the penny and held it out for her to see. Now, she had seen many pennies before, but what was the point of this penny? Look at it, he said. Read what it says. She reads the words, United States of America. No, not that. Read further. 1 cent? No, keep reading. In God we trust? Yes. Again, and if I trust in God, the name of God is holy. Even on a coin, whenever I find a coin, I see the inscription. It is written on every single United States coin, but we never seem to notice it. God drops a message right in front of me telling me, he says, to trust him and to count my blessings from him. In God I trust. Who am I to pass it by, he says. When I see a coin, I pray, I stop to see if my trust is in God, that moment, or due to only my hard work and luck. I pause and remember, he says, the riches given to me and share them. I pick the coin up as a response to God that I do trust in him. And for a short time, at least, I cherish it if it were gold. I think it is God's way of starting a conversation with me. I found a lucky penny, but the message is that God's blessings are immense and pennies are plentiful. Isn't that a great story? So what was he saying? Luck is random, but a blessing is relational. It reminds you that God has walked with you through every season, even difficult ones, and you can trust him. As we grow older, we've lived long enough to see that luck comes and goes, but God's blessings stay woven throughout a lifetime. Luck is like a coin toss, unpredictable, impersonal, fleeting, but a blessing is different. A blessing carries purpose. It arrives with timing, meaning, and a sense of being cared for. We often look back and realize that there are important moments in our life. The right person showing up, the strength to endure hardship, the unexpected opportunity, the healing that came shortly but surely. Those were not accidents. They were signs of God, a steady, hard, not random chance. Luck may change your day, but God's blessings shape your life. Let me close with this story. There were two elderly neighbors, Mr. Ramos and Mrs. Delgado, who had spent most of their lives tending small gardens behind their homes. Both were widowed, both lived alone, and both found comfort in the quiet rhythm of watering, pruning, and watching things grow. So one spring morning, a strong wind blew through the village and dropped two tiny seeds on their doorsteps. Neither knew where the seeds came from, but both decided to plant them. Mr. Ramos said, "Maybe I'll get lucky." So he planted the seeds quickly, without much thought. "Who knows," he said, "maybe I'll get lucky and I'll grow into something nice." He watered it when he remembered. Some days he forgot. Other days he shrugged and said, "If I'm lucky, it'll grow anyway." Weeks passed, the soil cracked, the seeds never sprouted. And Ms. Delgado said, "God sends blessings in small packages." Ms. Delgado planted her seed gently. "This might be a blessing," she whispered, "so I'll care for it as one." She watered it daily. Even on days when her knees ached, she prayed over it, not for a miracle, but for patience. She tended the soil, protected it from birds, and trusted that God would do the rest. Weeks passed. A small green shoot appeared, then leaves, and then a sturdy stem, and by summer it had grown into a beautiful flowering plant that filled her yard with color and fragrance. One afternoon, Mr. Ramos visited her garden and stared at this blooming plant. "You're lucky," he said. Ms. Delgado smiled. "No, neighbor. Luck is when you help something and good happens. A blessing is when God gives you something and you honor it with care." She touched one of the blossoms gently. Luck depends on chance. Blessings grow when we recognize them, nurture them, and thank God for them. Mr. Ramos looked at his dry patch of soil and sighed. "I guess I was waiting for luck to do all the work." And Ms. Delgado nodded. Blessings don't grow by accident. They grow because God gives them, and we choose to tend them. You see, luck is passive. but blessings are active. Luck may appear and disappear, but a blessing from God when you care for it, appreciate it, and trust his timing. I close with this verse from Numbers 6th chapter. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. There's no luck in that. The Lord bless you and many blessings.